We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about why is getting financial advice a good idea? Have you thought about that question, what that means to you? We're going to be talking about two similar portfolios and two different results. Why is that? And are you in one of those positions? The income bucket approach. What does that really mean, and how have you structured your retirement income? And different services that we provide at Centennial Wealth Advisory. So stay tuned as we've got a great show lined up here on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well. Plan to retire well.
Hi, in this segment, I want to talk to you about why getting financial advice is a good idea. All right? Now, first of all, let me just say this. You don't know what you don't know. All right? You may think you have a lot of knowledge in this area, but there's things you don't know, and maybe having a financial advisor involved with you as kind of a team member can help you with those things, right? The other thing that stands out is experience matters. If I'm doing stuff around my house, whether it's maybe tiling my floor or maybe it's doing some electrical, if I don't have a lot of experience in that area, I'm going to hire somebody that knows how to do that, right? No different in the financial service industry. Bring somebody along that's got the experience, that's been around a while, knows what they're doing. The other thing is, I think of those how-to videos, right? I've been renovating an RV, and I one day I had to go in, I had to pull this couch out. I couldn't quite see, how it was going to happen. I watched this video, how-to video on YouTube, and lo and behold, I watched it for about 3-4 minutes, went in and knocked it right out because I could visually see what they were doing. It's the same thing when you're trying to get financial advice out there, right? It really helps when they can put things forth to you that make it real simple, real easy to understand because, again, they have the experience, they have the knowledge. It's even best if you really actually even know what you're doing to get a second pair of eyes. Right? I may be kind of trucking along, knowing what I'm doing, feeling really good about what I'm doing, but why wouldn't I want to get a second opinion? Why wouldn't I have somebody come alongside me and say, hey, have you ever thought about maybe, doing this? Getting a financial advice can help you avoid those emotional decisions, right? Sometimes we get our emotions caught up in our investing. Maybe we've got emotional attachment to a stock and maybe we want to write it down too far, and maybe the idea is, really to look at something else and do something differently. Having somebody come alongside us and help us with that decision is very helpful. Folks, there is numerous financial instruments out there, and knowing the pros and cons of them is very, very important. And you want to get some financial advice and have that advisor sit down and say, okay, here's this financial instrument, good, bad. Here's another one, good, bad. And then once you have that knowledge, you can make a good decision for yourself as to what instrument might meet your goals and objectives better. And then there's a myriad of issues out there. You've got estate planning, tax planning, income planning. You've got all these different aspects that you're going to be dealing with in retirement. And again, having somebody with experience is very helpful. Folks, at the end of the day, it's a value proposition. Is the advice I'm getting, is it going to outweigh the cost of that advice? That's going to be the answer at the end of the day. So hopefully maybe we can help with that. If we can, give us a call. We'd be glad to talk to you about it.
Well, we're in a great segment there on Today on Retiring Well, getting into advice, maybe when it's prudent or when it's not. I think about for me personally, and, when I need help fixing a car or, fixing a sink or plumbing, I want to call an expert. I want to call somebody that knows something. Could I fix it or could I go about that task? Maybe, but likely my success rate may not be as high and probably be inefficient, take me a bunch of time. Nick here at the office, obviously that's what we do. We have advice and financial and planning and all that. So obviously we get asked all the time about that.
Absolutely. It was said well there on the show. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? And that's what we want to avoid for you. We want to make sure that we have every piece of that puzzle taken care of for you. And if you don't know it, how are you going to fix it, right? I got a prime example of a couple that came in at the end of last year in 2020 who were approaching Medicare age, and they were about to sell 2 different rental properties. Well, they hadn't really thought about Medicare, and they knew nothing about that IRMA adjustment, meaning where if they sold both of those rental properties, they would show more than $176,000 of income, and they would have to pay more for that Part B Medicare premium. We worked it out where, hey, we said, let's sell one property now, being it's the end of 2020, and then wait till January 1st of 2021 and sell that other property. Ended up saving them from bumping up into that third IRMA threshold, where the Part B premium would have costed them $297 each per month, and we kept it down to $207 per month. So it's just a prime example of you don't know what you don't know, right?
You know, Nick, that's great advice. And folks, that's something we see a lot. You know, maybe with investing, you like to day trade, or you like to invest, or you have a passive strategy where you think, oh, I don't need any help with this. But a lot of times folks miss those other underlying, those trip wires. You know, Nick talked about IRMA there. What about taxes? You know, these are all various things that people tend to miss those underlying details and can really get tripped up and be expensive for them. So folks, if this is you out there and you haven't sought professional advice lately, give us a call to the number on the screen. We'd love to sit down, talk with you, give us a second opinion about your situation, and walk through all those various aspects and help you come up with a plan so you can retire well.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best is Yet to Come, presented by Centennial Wealth Advisory. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big 3 being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on Wednesday, November 10th and November 17th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700.
When it comes to your financial future, what's the value of a truly objective opinion? As someone looking for financial guidance, you have choices. There are thousands of captive financial professionals who work as employees for large national insurance companies and brokerages. There are also many independent financial professionals who aren't bound to any given insurance company, investment strategy, or product. So what's the difference, and why does it really matter to you? Consider this. If you walked into a doctor's office with a sore throat, a bad cough, and a high fever, you'd expect that doctor to assess your symptoms, do a thorough diagnosis, and ultimately hand you a prescription written to cure your particular ailment. In other words, you'd expect the doctor to consider all the medications available and give you his or her absolute best thinking on what's best for you. On the other hand, if that doctor opened the cupboard and only had 3 or 4 prescriptions available, maybe those offered by his or her favorite pharmaceutical rep, most patients would immediately raise an eyebrow, suspicious that they might not be getting what was really in their best interest. The same may be true for your financial well-being. If your financial professional is an employee who's contractually bound to represent a given insurance or investment company, only offering their products while there are literally hundreds of others available, how sure can you be that you're being offered what's truly best for your situation? You don't walk into a tailor or seamstress shop to get clothing off some rack. You go for a custom-tailored fit. And with something as important as your financial future at hand, the stakes are even higher. We believe you deserve a truly objective opinion. We think you deserve to consider more of the available options, and we believe your financial future is worth a custom-tailored prescription to help you feel confident for the days ahead. If you'd like a second opinion on your current retirement strategy, simply contact our office today.
Hi, my name is Jack Klunder, and I am a financial advisor with Centennial Wealth Advisory. I work out of our Cadillac office, and we specialize in retirement planning. We take a very holistic approach. We start with investments and see how you're situated there. We do wealth management. We do income planning. We do tax planning, any kind of healthcare issues or needs that you might have for insurance. And then we talk about what your legacy plan might be. So if you are nearing or in retirement and you have questions that you want to go over, please give the number on the screen a call, and we can have and set up a free, no obligation consultation.
Listen, in this segment, I want to have a little bit of fun with you, okay? I'm going to take two brothers. They're going to retire at the same age, all right? And they're going to start off with the same amount of money. Let's say $500,000. They're going to take 5% out each month, for each year, I should say, for income. All right, so that'd be about $25,000 per year. All right. Now I'm going to add they're going to be invested exactly the same to the penny. All right, and I'll add this: they're going to be in this. They're going to have the same amount of tax-qualified accounts, meaning the same mix of IRA, Roth IRA, maybe non-retirement money. All right. Again, invested exactly the same way in all those accounts, taking income from the same account. All right? Do you see any difference here? All right? Now, at the end of 10 years, the one brother, he has just a little over $1.3 million. Not bad, right? Starts off with $500,000, just about triples his money while he was taking income from it each year. Not bad. The second brother, all right, at the end of 10 years, taking this same amount out each year, all right, starting off with the same amount, invested exactly the same way, at the end of 10 years, his account is worth just a little over $200,000. Folks, what happened? What happened? How did the one brother just about triple his money and the other one lost better than half its value during that period of time? What happened? Now, I'm going to give you a moment to just kind of think about that, right? Remember, they were invested exactly the same way, had the same amount of tax-qualified accounts, taking income from the exact same accounts, and let's add this, maybe they're taken exactly in the same day. What happened? Folks, this is what happened. The only difference between those two portfolios, or those two brothers, was when they retired. The first brother retired in 1990. All right, and guess what he got for 10 years? Nothing but an up market. The second brother retired in 2000, and look what he got. He got 911, right? Market dropped to half its value from 2000 to 2002. And then again in 2008, lost half its value. The only difference between those two brothers, or those two portfolios, was simply when they retired. So I pose this back to you. If you're somebody that's near retirement and in retirement, you know, how willing are you to gamble what you have in the hopes that you might get the market that the one brother got, but what if you got the market that the other brother got? I encourage you, if that's a concern for you because you're in that situation, near retirement or in retirement, then give us a call, because that's not something you want to be gambling with. You want to be very careful with. So give us a call.
Nearly everyone approaching retirement shares some of the same concerns. Have I saved enough? What if there's another stock market downturn? Could changes in politics or policies affect me? Could increased taxes take a toll on my income? Wouldn't it be nice to retire with confidence? We can help analyze your situation and provide professional and individualized input based on your unique circumstances. Contact us today for a no-cost, no-obligation second opinion.
Remember when life was simpler? When things didn't move quite so fast, and the world didn't seem so complex? Remember that? We do. And as the world around us has continued to speed up, becoming more complicated and still a bit uncertain, we have managed to keep things simple. providing sound, easy-to-understand financial advice and customized roadmaps for the road ahead. From tax reduction strategies, investment advice, and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, backed by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies, we can be your single point of contact, a single call, a voice you recognize well, and a partner who can be by your side for the entire journey. We can't stop the world around us, but we can help ensure you're prepared for what's to come. For a complimentary consultation, simply contact us today.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment of Chalk Talk, I want to show you how you might structure a portfolio to get the best results, especially if you're taking income, okay, or you're in retirement. First of all, I want you to take your total savings. Okay, this is everything you have, from IRA money, 401k money, maybe even, that non-retirement money, okay? I want you to take all of that, and then I want you to, number one, segment enough aside for emergencies. Okay, that would be your savings account. I've heard some people say, well, that needs to be 3 months income. Others say 6 months, maybe even a year. Doesn't matter. Is whatever amount you feel comfortable with having set aside for any kind of an emergency that might come around. Now, how that money is going to be invested, it's going to be highly liquid, it's going to be highly conservative, right? Because I may need that with a very short notice. The second thing I want you to do is then set aside money and put it in what we call the income bucket, okay? When you're working and you're getting a paycheck every week, maybe every other week, okay, your income needs are being met. And then you've got your savings doing what it's supposed to do, right? Hopefully growing. Well, like in this bucket, to the bucket you need to create to give yourself a steady amount of income that's going to replace that paycheck, especially when you get to retirement. All right? Now, once I've set aside money for that, then I've got what I call the conservative growth bucket. Okay, this is money that you want to set aside for all those intermediate term needs. Okay, maybe it's a car repair, maybe it's a car replacement. All right, maybe it's a home improvements, home repair. Maybe it's those extra vacations we want to take, those ones that might be on our bucket list, right? Maybe it's some of those healthcare costs we want to set aside for. Whatever it might be, that's going to be invested in a certain way as well, because I might need it in the near term, or I don't want it having a lot of volatility, right? Now, if I've set aside for my emergencies, I've set aside for my income, and maybe anything that might come up in interim, then everything else can pretty much go in that growth bucket. All right? That's traditionally how we probably had things invested while we were working. Okay, that can have a little bit of volatility associated with it because I don't need it for income, I don't need it for emergencies, okay, but I do want it hopefully to grow, okay. I want it to grow because as this bucket, I use this bucket, I want some of this maybe to replace and get back into that bucket. So folks, if you use what we call the bucket approach and you structure it accordingly, the kind of results you're going to have are going to be much, much better in retirement. If this is something you want to see for yourself, then I encourage you, give us a call. We'd be glad to run through this with you and how it might be appropriate for you.
I bet if you're approaching retirement or early in retirement, those two segments there got your attention, didn't they? Boy, thinking about those different portfolios and then also the income bucketing approach and how play effects in certain circumstances can be vital with the success of retirement. You know, thinking about just the different ways to structure investments, all the options out there and what the different things you can choose from, and also knowing that there's not one perfect situation typically with those tools and how that may affect you individually. You know, Nick, I know we see a multitude of different people across, you know, the range from, you know, folks that are younger to early retirees that are folks that have been retired for 30 years, you know, and all these things are very important to them.
Yeah, and you know, the income bucket approach was brought up multiple times there in that segment. And I think it's an awesome way to really visualize how the different pieces of your puzzle come into play, right? You've got that safe or no market risk bucket where you can depend on that. It's not going to be volatile per se, and you're drawing income from that. Whereas the growth bucket, that's where you're taking on the risk. You understand that you're going to have some big ups and possibly some big downs, but we're not going to touch that money for an extended period of time. And when I draw that up on the board and kind of show those prospective clients what that looks like, you can see that light bulb go off in their mind. They get it, they understand it, and it's just a really neat way to show all these pieces of the puzzle moving together.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Nick. And the one thing that too I heard you say is the different pieces of the puzzle there. Boy, folks, there's so many moving parts. You know, retirement, we want to be simple for you, but the underlying and behind the scenes picture is pretty complex. There's a lot of different things you have to juggle. You know, income, investments, taxes, estate planning, social security planning, you know, medical, health insurance, life insurance, all these different things. They're all really key pieces that you have to be able to juggle. You know, and if you're sitting out there and you're thinking, goodness, I don't have to worry about all that stuff, that's not for me, but you really want to know more about that, give us a call. You know, that's what we're here for. That's what, you know, Nick over in the Gaylord and Petoskey office, and, you know, us here in Traverse City, we have that office out in Cadillac. That's where we like to sit down and walk through all of this information with you and help you better understand that. Stay tuned, because coming up next, we're going to dive into all the services that we provide here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, and you're not going to want to miss this, because maybe some of those is just what you're looking for.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best is Yet to Come, presented by Centennial Wealth Advisory. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big three being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on Wednesday, November 10th and November 17th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700.
Are you nearing retirement or in retirement? Have you had your portfolio just looked at or have a second opinion on that portfolio recently? Centennial Wealth is a full service advisory firm, and we have multiple locations in Northern Michigan. I'm in the Gaylord office primarily. The office is right downtown Gaylord. Also up in the Petoskey office as well. That office is right off of 31. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to sit down and chat, and it's a free, no obligation consultation. So just call the number on the screen.
Hi, in this segment, you know, I want to talk to you about the services that we provide. You know, I had somebody approach me not long ago. They were like, Larry, I understand you probably do investment management, but what other things do you do? Well, I thought I'd take this opportunity to maybe kind of outline those so you kind of have a better feel. First of all, we obviously do investment management, right? We're trying to look at your goals and objectives, all right? We're looking at your risk tolerance, you know, what's your timeline? And we're trying to take those items and say, okay, based on that, what would be a good strategy? What financial instruments best meet those goals and objectives? So that is a very, very important part of what we do. And then educating you on the pros and cons of those various investments, okay? The other services we provide is tax planning. Right? You know, you've got all these qualified accounts, these IRAs, 401ks, there's money, this money has never been taxed by the government. Every dollar you pull out is taxed. You've got a partner in that account. What's your IRA exit strategy to get that partner out of those accounts? How can you buy them out as cheaply as possible? Well, that's going to have to be in our tax planning. And then, of course, just trying to minimize taxes year after year would be very helpful as well, right? Another service service we provide is estate planning. You know, we come alongside estate planning attorneys, we bring them in, and we sit down with you and them, and we say, you know, we try to formulate an estate plan together. You know, what we want is we want all your assets to know where to go when you die. A lot of clients will come in and, you know, is a trust necessary? Well, let's talk about that. You know, Larry, I've heard about these ladybird deeds. Where do they come into play? Well, let's talk about that, right? But let's form a plan. Let's make sure that that gets done. Another service we provide is income planning. All right, you know, most people are trying to figure out how now do I take income from this portfolio that I have that I've been saving all these years for. Well, let's develop a plan to do that. You know, when do I take Social Security? How does that play a part in this? I've got a small pension. Does that have a role, right? Let's take a look at that. Let's form a plan, and let's make sure that you're not going to run out of money in retirement. And then let's make sure that we continue to monitor that plan. We may have a plan today, but then going forward, let's make sure we stay close to that and we don't lose any ground. Another service we provide is in the healthcare arena. Long-term care, is it something I need or don't need? What about Medicare? When you get the age of 65 and you get that, you're going to need supplemental insurance. Let's talk about the pros and cons and different routes you can go with that, right? If I'm not yet 65 and I still need health insurance because I've retired, what about the marketplace insurance? How do I obtain that? You know, what kind of income do I have to qualify maybe for the subsidies? Folks, these are all services we provide because we work with the retirees all the time. We know all the myriad of issues that they're dealing with. So folks, if this is somebody like you're already maybe in retirement and not getting those services, or somebody close to retirement that's, you know, wanting some of these questions answered, then certainly give us a call.
Well, you really can see there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and if you're coming into retirement or early in retirement, you're not going to want to get one of those wrong, are you? You can see all these different services that we provide here and how valuable they may be. Yes, maybe every individual doesn't need all of them, but boy, wouldn't you at least like to know if you do? You know, Nick, I know that, you know, when we're working with new clients, and, you know, there's really a lot of things we have to uncover and a lot of questions we have to ask to get to the bottom of all these needs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's so important in that first meeting that we have with you is we're getting your whole story. I mean, a lot of clients, they'll come in and just drop all their documents and statements on the table and say, hey, what do I need to do? Well, that's not us here. We want to hear your side of the story so that we can dive into all these different pieces of the puzzle and make sure they're all working together. I had a recent scenario where a client came in and they were very, very interested in our tax planning services. Well, we mapped out that whole picture, but what was also a big piece of their puzzle was healthcare as well. And they were shocked. They didn't even know we covered health insurance, but we ended up getting them signed up for health insurance and saving them a lot of money in that regard as well. So it's just so important to make sure that all those pieces of the puzzle are taken care of and looked after for you.
That's a really good point, Nick. You know, with this, because kind of one thing leads to another, and especially when you get into retirement planning, you know, if you spend too much time focusing on just one thing, you're kind of going to potentially lose sight of the bigger picture, and that's something you're not going to want to do, because in Nick's case there, boy, that could have been a significant financial consequence to missing a piece of that. And that's why with all the various services and kind of that holistic approach, it makes that very valuable. I liken it to the quarterback of the team. You know, somebody's got to be directing that offense and leading the team down the field, and it really is the same as the true with your retirement. You want to have that piece of that as well. So folks, you know, to learn more about us and to see more about our services, you know, check us out online. Our website is sen-wealth.com, and it's a great way to learn more about us and kind of get a feel for some of the additional stuff that we do. Hopefully you found today's show valuable and learned a lot about the retirement planning aspect and all the services that we provide here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. So once again, we appreciate you watching. Hope you're enjoying our shows. We love coming to you every week here on Retiring Well.